Well, hello friends and followers. So here's another video on the Drake PS7. Tale of woe, or is it a tale of progress? Wait until you find out why this sucker didn't work. I still don't know if it works, but I'm willing to believe that I found the problem. I still can't find the little black spacer that goes to this tip 31 that goes on the chassis, but I'll deal with it later. I actually put this thing on eBay because I figured I'm never gonna figure it out. I was mad that I spent 2 days trying to fix this damn thing. I put in the new pass transistors here, which are upgraded to 80 volts PIV instead of 40 on the old ones. 3051s, 2N3051, these are 2N3053, I think they are. So they're better. Anyway, the pass transistors aren't shorted, and I wondered what would take out 2 of these? How would that happen? What the heck would happen to do that? And the tale is stranger than fiction. So let's go through, first of all, how this little regulator board works. It simply plugs into here. So this goes on the bottom, that little tab there, and you plug the board into these little pins. Just plug it in, and life goes on happy, right? Okay, so what could make life unhappy? What if these pins just don't work? What if they just don't contact for whatever reason? And the way this thing works is it has a bridge rectifier. You can see the diodes. Of course, I replaced all those, right? And it has this transformer here, which is a mighty beefy transformer. It puts out buku current, about, I don't know, probably 15 volts or so AC or something through these thick wires, which is really cool, into this bridge rectifier. But we don't care about that. It has little yellow windings here that put out about I would say 20-25 volts, and it puts AC into the 2 lower wires here, and those correspond to the 2 lower pins here, the 2 bottommost pins. Okay, so what's the next pin up? It's a ground pin, and it grounds a whole frickin' board, okay? So the 3rd pin up is a little black wire, and that black wire goes to here, grounds it. So I made sure that was soldered. Still no joy. So what I found was this thing must have simply ungrounded the board when the system was running, or the power supply was running. The board became ungrounded, and when that happened, all hell broke loose, and I don't know what happened. It just blew out tons of stuff. So if this board becomes ungrounded, all hell breaks loose. So I did notice they have a little tab here with a screw that grounds to the chassis to hold the board in, and of course they didn't have this little tab grounded, so I added extra solder to it. It was floating on its own. That's not the primary ground. The system ground for this thing is the 3rd pin up. So if you look at how this thing is installed, you'll see the diodes are here, and the diodes get AC out of these 2 pins here. This 3rd pin here is a ground pin, if you can believe that. So looking on the bottom here, I'm not quite sure what was wrong with this thing. I just made sure that there was a solid connection between this pin ground and the ground on the board, made sure that was very solid. And, you know, desperation here. I took a file, and I can't find the file now, but here it is. So I took this little file, and the pins closest to the transformer are the ones that are touching the, they're the ones touching these little pins here, so I made sure that those would, is that correct? Maybe they're on the other side. No, I think that's correct. So I made sure that these pins would contact a clean connection on here by simply roughing up all these, and the ground pin, 3rd one up, roughed up that one. And what else? I got a small little screwdriver thing here, and I put that into the contacts of this board to pretty much force off any kind of crud on the pins in there. So what does this all mean? Oh my gosh, do we have ground? So I've been touching the main voltage capacitor here that is the main supply. So when they use diodes, full wave or full bridge rectify this stuff, you get about 35 volts on this thing here, about 30 volts, and it better show up. So first of all, I wasn't reading any voltage because this thing was just never grounded. So is it grounded now? Let's see. So put this in with the little tab down. Connect it up here. Stuff it in there. Here's a multimeter. We're gonna go to ohms. And we'll simply find a ground wire here if I can. Here's a wire here. Okay, we'll connect one. There goes the foul on the floor, kaplunk. One thing I didn't like about being a technician when I was going to college and studying and getting my tuition paid for by my friend Ed, I didn't like all the different tools and things you needed and all the big mess this makes when you're trying to fix something and the stuff just gets lost, it falls on the floor, you lose it, there's too much of it. I guess you should put your tools away every so often, which I do. Okay, so we're looking at ground. So this wire from the capacitor here goes to the multimeter on ohms, check it for ohms, we have ohms. Now, if I touch here, it should ground. And look at that, it doesn't. So whatever the problem with radio is, I still have it. I still can't get a system ground with this thing. It's crazy. Just a simple pin and I can't make it ground. Am I doing this right? I'm trying to ground on this capacitor. Sometimes I put this in backward. Can you see? So ground is here. That's ground. This wire goes there. Okay, that's ground. Craziness. And if I put this in, it just doesn't work. This thing is like jinxed. Okay, so let's retrogress. If I put this wire onto the chassis here, like that, and I touch this third pin up, like that. Third pin up is ground. What do I get? I get continuity. I get a ground. It actually grounds right here on this screw here. If I touch it over here, third pin up. 1, 2, 3. I get a ground. So something about this effing pins on this board is screwed. And I'm sick of dealing with it. I'm actually gonna just solder a wire to this stupid board and attach the wire to the frame because I am so tired of pissing with this stupid connector. I don't know why this thing doesn't ground and I don't care anymore. I'm simply gonna force it with a ground wire. I guess the little board won't come out so nice anymore, but I really can't figure this out, why it doesn't work. I just can't make it work. So, am I frustrated? Yes. Am I wasting my life doing this? Yes. But I'm stubborn. I paid probably $200 some for this thing, maybe almost $300, and it's like, I like my Drake radio. Do I want to buy a new power supply? No, I don't. I really don't want to buy a new one from the eBay scalpers, so let's make this one work. All right, so here's a board from hell. We know that ground doesn't work. We just know our life sucks with ground here. So, what do we do about it? Why doesn't ground work? Let's put a wire back on this capacitor here. Now we're on ground to the capacitor right there. That's ground. And we'll put one lead on the multimeter here. Great. Now we're going to check the ground. If I check right here, let's get the meter onto the video here. Where's the meter on the video? There. Oh, where is it? There it is. Look at that. All right. And the board. I guess this doesn't work so well. Anyway, if I touch here, I have ground. If I touch where this pin is here, the ground pin, where is that ground pin? It is here. You can see it. That works. If I touch here, that says open. So there's something about this joint. It's just not oxidized or something. Something's oxidized. I've never seen anything like this. That looks like it works. All right, and if I take this little screwdriver here and I shove it in pin 3, like that, shoved in there. Doesn't look real stable, does it? So whatever's going on in there is wicked bad. I would say this pin is burned up or something is wrong with it. It's not going to work for us. Anyway, isn't it ridiculous where I spend days trying to fix this damn power supply? And of course, it's a mechanical problem with crap pins they put in this thing. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that a pile of crap? So, I don't want to fix this anymore. I'm just going to solder a wire onto here, and I'm going to solder it onto the case. And that's going to be it. Maybe our ground gremlins will be gone. But I've never seen anything like this. I'd probably have to pull off this whole connector. And I just don't want to bother doing that to fix it, to make it right. It doesn't matter if it's right. If the board stays in there and works, this is never to be touched anyway, so who cares? I've replaced so much stuff on this damn board because I didn't understand the ground didn't work until much later. All right, so how did I try and debug this damn thing? Well, the tale of days of woe. I verified these potentiometers work. I replaced these capacitors, this capacitor, this capacitor. I put an NPN into here, past transistor, and the thing fired up for a while, probably because the ground worked. The grounded one here is the SCR that will crowbar on current, I think, with this thing. So the SCR has the ground, it's this one here. So the SCR is here, it will overcurrent and ground out the input supply. That is a PNP that comes off of here and will take away the bias on this, take away the base current. Take the base to almost 0 and then kill the supply going in. But we know that this supply coming in from these diodes cannot be turned off when you have 25 volts coming in on these two pins here, this pin. You're always going to have voltage here no matter what, and across here you should have 30 volts roughly if this ground pin's working, which mine was not. And what did I replace on here? Well, a little diode there. I took out this chip, put a socket in, put a new chip in there. All the capacitors. I checked these for operation. I was desperate, and I didn't understand the circuit enough, and I kept hashing through the circuit. So in 1979, this is how you made a voltage and current regulator. And it works pretty damn good, I suppose. I looked on Google for how you do this thing these days, and oh yeah, put in the LM7812 and a pass transistor, and I don't know, I'm just like, you know what, this board's done. It's all wired and nice, just a matter of making it work. So I'm just gonna put a wire on here and ground it to the chassis somewhere, and who the hell cares? All right, that'll be next video. We'll see if this little stinker will work again. All right, Who owned this thing anyway? W1SI owned it? Did this thing come from New England, or where did it come from? Let me see, why can't I see that call sign there? I guess that's the guy that owned it. Is he dead? He's probably dead. He's probably a silent key. All right, well, that's my video. I'm gonna try and get this thing working again. Should probably clean all the crap out of it and crud, but what are you gonna do? Maybe I can actually put it back together tonight and turn on the Drake. The Drake's already been taken off the stack of radios because it was given up for dead. There's the poor Drake over there. I almost sold the Drake on eBay, but I saw that they don't get much money. Maybe you get like $200-300 for it. That's a great radio. That is a really nice radio. So I decided then to distract myself from, I have a medical procedure in 2 days, which I don't want to really do. It involves something called an angiogram, and I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. So this is distracting me from worrying about that, okay? Thanks for watching. Have a great day.